Hi everyone, it's March 12th, which is the day of the second test in Pakistan between Australia and Pakistan, of course. The second test is being held at Karachi, at the National Stadium, having moved from Rawalpindi or Pindi Cricket Stadium, which gave us, excuse me, a test match which was basically a draw, but I thought very interesting draw. I like Test cricket in the true format, which can be rather dour, rather slow paced. Some people complain about that, but pitch being too much like a road. But quite frankly, it was a fantastic batting display by the Pakistanis and the Australians. Mind you, the Pakistan team did it a little bit better by, of course, having Imam al-Haq scoring centuries in both innings and Shafiq as well, and Hassan Ali's 185, who shouldn't forget that. That was a magnificent innings as well. Australia had a number of good scores, 2 in the 90s, but no one scored a century, and they couldn't take more than 3 wickets plus a run out for the entire match, as opposed to Pakistan, that took all 10 in the innings that they bowled, with Neumann getting some 6 wickets. So, look, the words dominated, control, won just by a draw can be used for Pakistan. Australia, as you may have heard me talk before, and certainly in the case now, we're talking about they control the tempo, the tempo of the match, control the mood of the match. I don't believe that at all. I mean, they may have somewhat reduced the run rate on some areas of the match, yes. They didn't necessarily bowl that badly, but they weren't penetrative at all. And I'm afraid that's fairly significant. It's fairly significant indeed. If you're not taking your 20 wickets, and in this case only 3 plus a run out, you can't penetrate and win matches and win a test series. Now, Australia, of course, have made changes to the lineup, but only really one. They've added Mitchell Swepson on debut, the debutants. Rated very highly at the state level as a leg spin bowler. We had Mohsen Sheikh, who may be on a bit later this afternoon. He talked about the way he's improved. He came back from a stress fracture to upper back, basically predominantly because of his bowling, which is interesting. Anyway, he's in the side now. He's not known for his batting. He has replaced, or not replaced, but taken the spot of Josh Hazlewood, who was in fact, as Pat Cummins termed it, misses out. So dropped is the wrong word, but misses out is probably the right word. Okay, so that is in fact the only change in the test line. When I would argue there may have been 1 or even maybe 2 more that they could have made. I thought Travis Head was in question under a cloud, even though he got centuries in the Ashes. Alex Carey's keeping certainly under question, and Mitchell Starc didn't bowl at his best either. Scott Boland was knocking on the door certainly, and Ashton Agar as well, and you could have argued for 3 spinners, not just 2. And if they go and continue to talk about Travis Head or Steve Smith or Labuschagne being a true spinning option, or bowling option, well then they're underplaying that ability and that importance in the game, especially on what I believe the pitch to be like here in Karachi. So, yes, Smriti Mandana has scored 123, I believe, in the match currently between India women's and West Indies women's. And I think Harmanpreet Kaur's on about 80 not out. So, and Mathara Raj didn't score, didn't Dipti Sharma. So, they're in fact, and Bhatia didn't score as well. So they're doing very well against West Indies. Seeing West Indies actually are in form. So we'll just to see how that pans out. I've noticed also one of my posts has got 989,100. That's incredibly in only 8 to 9 days time, which I'm very happy about. Thank you to the viewers that are supporting me by looking at and watching or viewing my posts. So later on this evening, usually the game would be underway now in India, but they're playing a day night, which will start in some 4.5 hours time, where India will play Sri Lanka in a day nighter down in Bengaluru, or the old Bangalore, at Chinnaswamy Stadium. That'll be an interesting match as well. But having said that, though, Sri Lanka, you would imagine would make changes to the side. India don't make any changes. They beat them by an innings and 222 runs. I think that was what it was, and that was quite a slaughter actually. And I don't know how Sri Lanka are going to get back from this. They really are on a bit of the doldrums at the moment. And their test lineup were summarily smacked by the Indian side. So that starts later today, another test match. Obviously, we have England versus the West Indies, and the West Indies did very well to go ahead on first innings. But then England have come into bat, and Zach Crawley and Joe Root have done exceptionally well. Zach Crawley got a century, and Joe Root's in the 80s, heading towards a century. So, and they're 1 for 200 odd in reply. So coming into the fifth day, so that may not be a result there, but still ebbed and flowed. England got 300 odd, and then West Indies went well past their score. But England have fought back and now 1 for 200. So it's another interesting match. Of course, Bangladesh are travelling, if I'm not wrong, to South Africa at the moment to play a test series or to play a series there. Obviously, the IPL's come up into the month. We've got the Women's World Cup, as I said, going underway with India versus India versus West Indies, and yeah, South Africa doing pretty well. The women's cricket there as well. So it's there's a lot to be said about cricket still being well and truly on the front page, on the back page, and probably more on the front pages in Australia because of obviously the arrival of Shane Warne's body to Australia. I think was it yesterday, and the private funeral service probably will be held perhaps as early as tomorrow or next Sunday, and there'll be a private family affair with close friends and family, and then you've got the other very substantial state funeral, state service, by Victorian state government at the MCG, with a lot of fanfare, 100,000 seated venue, which will have apparently free tickets. They were hoping to get Chris Martin from Coldplay, the rock group, also who was a close friend of Shane's, Ed Sheeran from Ed Sheeran himself, even Elton John and a few others, Mick Jagger supposedly. But it looks as though some of them may not be able to make it in person, but they may do tributes or be crossed via satellite to be a part of the event as well. And that will be broadcast live in Sydney as well. And I believe the SCG will also be given an event of sorts at the SCG to combine with what's happening at the MCG at the same time. So there'll be cameras and screens everywhere showing what's happening at the MCG, and then we'll move to turn to the SCG, all in celebration of Shane Warne's life. And that'll be quite a big day. That'll be March 30th, and it'll be a nighttime event starting around 7 p.m. Australian time, which in the subcontinent is, I think, 1 p.m. in Pakistan, and I think around 1:30 in India. Yeah, so it's, and also around 8 a.m. in England. So it's a plausible sort of time to start the event, I guess. So it'll be probably live all over the world. Mohammed Farouk has joined us. Hello, hi, how are you? Yeah, so today's game, the Australian side's already been decided. I think I mentioned earlier that Mitchell Swepson will make his debut today, giving his Australian cap. I'm imagining pretty soon. He will be probably getting it right now. So the Australian side will be as follows. They have, of course, Warner and Khawaja opening, Labuschagne first drop, Smith second, Travis Head keeps his position at third drop, and you'll have Cameron Green, and you'll have Alex Carey. To see who joins. Siddharth, how are you?
Hey, Norman, I'm good.
How are you, Sid?
Good. How are you?
Have I spoken to you about Shane Warne? I have, haven't I?
We did.
Yeah,
in
we
the
have.
previous.
I was just talking a bit about that. I was just going through the Australian scene for the match. Currently about to be, in the next less than an hour now, we'll have Australia versus Pakistan, the second test match.
Yep. And the ping pong test.
I'm not sure how much you watched the first test match, but it's quite an enthralling match. I thought it was great batting. And let's forget the pitch. The pitch was the same for both teams. And Pakistan deservedly said that they basically dominated. And I think they did.
They did. But I don't agree with some of the comments that the Pakistan players have made. Like, Australia prepare pitches according to their own will. No. The pitches in Australia are flat.
Your volume's a little bit less.
Oh, is it? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you, but it's not clear. Maybe the viewers can comment, but I can hear you. But usually when you use headsets, it tends to can you take that? Do you need the headsets?
I do, so that it
Okay,
doesn't
all right.
echo around.
No worries. Okay,
Yeah.
so go
I
on. What
kind
were you
of
saying?
don't agree with the Pakistan and players and analysts that, okay, Australia prepare pitches according to their own whim. No, the pitches in Australia are flat. It's true. Maybe there have been one or two instances, maybe Melbourne of 2017, where the pitches were an absolute dead drag. But otherwise, it's been pretty good. You see, the most results in the world happen in Australia.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm there.
Yeah, sorry. I thought you froze for a second as you stopped talking.
No. I am not frozen.
I was just going to say, look, Australia have come out and mentioned, or their team, Pat Cummins on the press conference mentioned their team, the Australian team, as per program of the first test, only changes Hazelwood misses out for Mitchell Swepson. I don't think that's good enough a number of changes. Ashton Agar should have been given a Guernsey. I was saying earlier that I'm looking with very close eyes, or very stern eyes, on both Travis Head and Alex Carey. I think their position, even though Travis Head scored centuries in Australia, after he was dropped for bad form, he seems to lull back into that same way. He thinks he's safe again, and he batted very poorly in the first test. Admittedly, it's only one innings, but he's the way he approached it, hit 2 fours and then got out. It just seemed to be incredibly poor considering how well everybody else went. And Alex Carey's batting hasn't at all taken off. His keeping glove work has been fine. Well, there's been some errors, but he's been fine. But he must be under the microscope with Josh English on tour.
I think it's like an amber light of caution for Alex Carey. 6 tests, he hasn't done well with the bat at all. And you need Carey, the batsman,
his keeping was pretty good early on, but it's not really keeping him in the side. I would argue that Josh Inglis is on his toes, and Ashton Agar should have got a Guernsey. I would have made changes, and even Scott Boland should have been considered, because they needed a bowler
what's happened with Scott Boland.
Of his consistency.
My ideal combination would have been to get Boland and remove Stark. Stark has been wayward. Hazelwood, Boland, Agar, Swepson, Lyon, and Cummins. But that would have meant the batting and the bowling, the tail would have been longer than in that case.
Really, the Australian team's form is, I know they played well in Australia against England, and everything seemed to go well, and Pat Cummins was, given a lot of accolades for his captaincy, but I don't think they really played a good England side. And alternatively, now they're playing as a Pakistan side that I would argue red hot, especially their batting and their bowling as well. They know their conditions. There's a baptism of fire going on here, and I've got concerns about Swepson. He had a stress fracture up at the back from his bowling. Adam Holyoake even told us about it. He was on our show at the time. He was, all over that because he was part of the Queensland's group. Mosen Sheikh, who was a regular here, knows them as well. He seems to have recovered from that. He's got a lot stronger. But I just don't think, even though he's been around the Australian team for almost 5 years now, hasn't got a Guernsey. It's not as if, Sid, you even though you've been around the team for 5, 6, 7 years or whatever amount of time, doesn't mean you deserve a chance, does it? It doesn't work that way.
Yep. Doesn't.
You've got to be good enough.
Look, Australia are going to confront their 2 worst bogeys in Karachi: reverse swing and spin. This is not going to be like the Rawalpindi pitch. So Lahore and Karachi are your 2 places where you're going to get reverse swing and spin. Now, how are you going to cope up with that? That is the most important thing. At the end of the day, you have to understand that Australia's batters, although they batted well in Rawalpindi, didn't get a single century. They played rash shots and got out. They had to be confident against the spinners. Now, on this Karachi track, how confident they will be, that is the most important question. Because in that entire decade, from 2008 onwards, barring the one series in Sri Lanka, What has gotten Australia out the most number of times? It's these two factors: reverse swing and spin. 80% spin, 20% reverse swing. So, how does David Warner, how does Steve Smith, how does Manas Labuschagne cope with that? That will be very important. It's basically these three players and Usman Khwaja. If these four players, apart from that, the rest of the batting looks very shaky. Travis Head, as you say, inconsistent. Alex Carey, amber caution for signal. If he doesn't perform in this series, then I think Australia will have to look at another alternative. Because 8 tests, I don't remember any keeper having such a big run. Maybe Ian Healy to a certain extent at the start. Maybe. I think Healy also underwent a lot of trouble times before he, maybe for 3 years. After that, he established himself as the number one keeper in Australia. Maybe.
Yeah. So, do you think leg spin will trouble the Pakistani batsman?
Well, in the past, it has. I mean, as we talk about the great Shane Warne, he regularly troubled Pakistan with his leg spin. But that was Shane Warne. Shane Warne is a different pedigree of genius apart from other bowlers. Kumble has troubled Pakistan with his leg spin. Kumble did. So did Muralidharan, although his is a mixture of leg spin and off spin. But yes, leg spinners have generally troubled Pakistan in the past. Surprising, considering that they had the likes of KADIR, Abdul Qadir, and Mushtaq Ahmed to counter them. But yes, surprisingly, leg spin has troubled Pakistan a lot. So, but again, Swepson not having that much of experience, we don't know. Maybe Pakistan will get away pretty easy with this because at home, their batting is far more superior than overseas. I will not say too much about Abdullah, Shafiq, and Imam because they have not had that many chances. They may be home track bullies, but we don't know yet. But yeah, Rizwan, Babar, class players, so they will not be troubled too much, I believe.
Yeah, look, the amount of momentum, the amount of good form shown by the Pakistani top order, my God, you've got their top three all scored centuries in the first test match. That's pretty, I don't care what the conditions were, that's very impressive.
Yeah.
I mean,
Fawad Alam didn't even get a chance to bat in either of the innings. And he's your top order batsman. Just one stat, Norman. Already the groundwork has been laid. In 239 overs, which Australia bowled in the Ashes, they took 35 wickets. Here they just took 4.
So DeBarcis is going, Mahanti's going defensive Travis Head. But we mustn't forget Travis Head was dropped leading into the series about a couple of series ago. He and Matthew Wade were both dropped. So Head came out with a ball out of the gate. Test series, scored a century first match, did very well, did well in another match. But he's going back into his old style, and I'm afraid I know what that looks like. And, well, maybe I'm being a bit hard on him, but he has to perform because there are people breathing down his neck. All right, tell me a bit about, Sid, tell me a bit about, you're on mute there. Tell me a bit about India versus Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka's been hit by the loss of Pathum, the first drop bat, and also I think Chamira's out as well, which are two players that were probably players they would have definitely picked. What do you thought? What's going on with both? I mean, Sri Lanka's been a bit hit by selection, but what's going on with India? Are they making any changes?
I don't think so. The same team that will be there. But yeah, I mean, we are not expecting much from this test match anyways, because look, Sri Lanka, respect, full credit to them. They are a great team, but now they just don't have it, especially in the batting or the bowling. Look, the one player who could have made a difference, Lahiru Kumara and Dushmantha Chamira, both are not there. Kumara could at least swing the pink ball pretty well. Dushmantha Chamira could at least get that zip of the Chinnaswamy wicket. Both are not there. So what do you do now? There's no Chamira, there's no Kumara. You don't have that. In the past, you had at least Herat, you had Murli or Vas who could trouble them. There was an intimidating bowler. There is no intimidation in the Sri Lanka team. Absolutely none. Even in the batting. Angelo Matthews is a shadow of his former self. I think these are his last. You may say these are his last days here. It's his last days in the Sri Lanka team.
You're getting dark again. Your screen's
Yeah,
getting
I
dark.
mean,
I'm not sure
it's
what
the
you.
morning sunshine. It doesn't come on this
Just
way.
turn. It's back now. It's back now.
Yeah.
It's perfect. You must have some change. All right. But India. Oh, you got your producer behind you.
Yeah. It's gone. It's gone. 1 minute. Let me ensure that I think I have to come here. Let me see if I can come here.
That's better. That's much better. That's much better. That's perfect.
That's
You're in
perfect. Yes.
good sights there. That's fine.
Yes.
Yeah, it's funny when you got the sun behind you. It actually blackens out the whole screen.
I know. It's weird. The morning sun here. Yeah. I think this is better now. Yeah.
So India are expected to dominate and beat Sri Lanka again quite convincingly. Yes. And if they don't, there'll be a bit of a shock. Virat Kohli, should I mention his century again? Poor guy.
Look, I think, see, I will just slightly put to rest the Virat Kohli debate. Okay. Every player undergoes a lean patch. Okay. Even in his lean patch, even in ODIs, if I have to talk about, Kohli averages 49. That is 5 times more than what Tendulkar's average is in his entire career, even in his lean patch, if I may tell you. Even in T20s, he averages 60. In tests, it's 30. I think that is the average which people are concerned about. That is, average is just 30 in tests in these last 2 years. But I think you can give a bit of a leeway for 12 years of sustained excellence and dominance. For 12 years, and from 2009 till 2019, there was no greater player in the history of the game than Virat Kohli across all 3 formats. And in any condition and in any format, centuries would be made for fun. Chasing would be made for fun. So if he's in a lean patch, that shows that he's a human being after all. He's not a machine, if I may have to look at it. So if he doesn't score a century, it doesn't matter. Even if he scores a 45 or a 50, it's good enough. I think you are allowed to give him that much of a leeway to ensure that, okay, perhaps he's 34. The reflexes, the things will not be the same as it was when he was 24. Maybe the number of centuries will not come exponentially as it was at that time. So, as I had mentioned, if he maintains that kind of, in one article that I had written about 5 years back for Hindustan Times, I had mentioned, if Kohli maintains the form which he's showing, he will score a total of 65 ODI centuries. But he will not be able to surpass Tendulkar's tally of test centuries and runs. He can surpass the ODI runs. He may not be able to surpass the test runs and centuries. So he's kind of proving me right, because I've taken into account the lean patches and all. So Virat Kohli, I don't think he may struggle slightly, but that doesn't diminish his greatness.
Oh, look, India's going to come out supremely confident. They do very well in day-night matches, especially in their own country. Sri Lanka did okay when they came to Australia, but Australia were all over them. That was not. There was no
Patum Nisanka this time. There's no Patum Nisanka because of a back injury. So you lost your gun batsman also. And this is the last series for Suranga Lakmal. This is the last match for him. So he's retiring. So who do you have now? Who's there in the Sri Lanka team? Maybe Lassit Embuldeniya, but Embuldeniya doesn't have that pedigree that he needs time. Ramesh Mendis is injured. So where is your next great bowler or batsman coming from the Sri Lanka setup?
They're there. They got their political, the internal stuff that goes on in that place. They're there. They'll unearth a diamond. It'll be reactive, but it'll happen. I've got supreme confidence that it'll happen, but maybe not in the nearest of futures, unfortunately, which is rather sad. So it's a matter of I think waiting and seeing what transpires. And I've just been given some pictures of Mitchell Swepson with his cap on. He looks very excited. They keep on saying he's young, but if he's been around the team for 5 years, he can't be too young.
Yeah, I think he's about 28, 29, Mitchell Swepson.
I'm not sure. Are you saying how old he is?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm actually trying to find that out.
Swepson, South Australia, right? South Australia. He plays South Australia.
But see, I said yesterday on my show that I'm never. I mean, again, a player that's been waiting in the wings for 4 or 5 years and gets his chance. It's not like you can't use the term he deserves the chance. It's not about deserving. It's a matter of earning it, I think.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I've watched his bowling. He has a very big, ripping leg spinner, but he hasn't got the variety of Shane Warne. Shane Warne worked with him a little bit. He's very. I describe him as a bowler that holds on the ball very tightly as a leg spinner, which some leg spinners do, whereas Shane Warne was a lot looser, and therefore variety came through. And Shane Warne always used to talk about his 2 fingers down up routine, but holding the ball loosely as opposed to gripping it too hard. And that is one of the keys to what I hope he's taught him. So Swepson's age is 28. I guess it's not old, but it's not young either.
Not young.
So anyway,
Queensland, right? Queensland or South Australia? Queensland. Swepson.
Sorry?
Swepson is Queensland or South Australia?
Queensland. Which is not exactly a place renowned on the Gabba for leg spin either, which is interesting, but certainly. So look, I'm also interested in the combination between Lyon and Swepson. Okay, often leg spin, that makes sense. That's the important punishment they have to forge. It's just not Swepson bowling alone. He will have to support Lyon because Lyon will still be the main bowler. Then you've got, if they had Agar, which they should have bit the bullet and put Agar in there as well, and actually taken out both Stark and Hazelwood, because both of them did not take a wicket. Stark didn't take a wicket. It was Labuschagne, Lyon, a run out, and there was one other. I think it was, I can't remember who the other person was. It may have been, was it Stark? I can't remember.
It wasn't Stark. I don't think none of the.
Anyway, it was actually Cummins. It was Cummins, Labuschagne, and Lyon all took wickets with no wicket to and a run out. So yeah, look, I think we should have bit the bullet and actually really, really explored that. We're going to find out who's going to be the Australian coach as well at some stage. At this point, it's Andrew McDonald, but he's in a temporary position. Yeah. It's going to be interesting. It's a very, very interesting stage of the whole situation from Australia. I think, we've got to, even though Pat Cummins has done reasonably well at being a captain so far, he's being tested. And I thought he was found a little bit wanting in the first match. And I think Australia's got to look beyond. They've got to look beyond Stark, Hazelwood, Mark Cummins, and Lyon. They've got to look past that 4 because, quite frankly, that 4 failed against India. Remember that, of course, in the last test of the Gabba. Yep, they didn't do well in the first test here, and it was almost an element of being predictable. If that's a word you can use. It was an interesting scenario with the way they bowled, and we're looking at an interesting time. And I've got a feeling my prediction of this match will be that Australia will get smacked and Pakistan will actually win the match. And although Swepson's going to provide variety, he's not going to be up to it first ball, first innings. Nor was Shane Warne for that matter.
Yeah. See, Australia haven't won in Karachi for the last 60 years. The last time they won it was in the 50s. So history is not with them in Karachi. But at the end of the day, we have to understand, if I have to look at all the Aussie bowlers currently on form, you will keep Cummins, definitely, because he's the captain and he's one of your best pacers. But Hazelwood has bowled well in flat conditions for the past couple of years. If you look at his performances in the IPL for Chennai Super Kings, on flat decks, he was actually one of the difference makers. Even in the World T20, it was Hazelwood who gave you the initial breakthroughs. So you would keep Hazelwood. I would omit Stark because I don't know what has gone wrong with Mitchell Stark. He doesn't seem to have that accuracy anymore. And I don't know, maybe Shane Warne was right in going after him in the last couple of months. I think he was right slightly. But you would keep Hazelwood, you'll keep Cummins. Then your spin would be Lyon, Agar and Swepson. That's your 5 bowlers in Asian conditions.
What do you honestly think? Do you think Australia's who's going to win this match?
On paper, it's Pakistan, because their batting came back to form. Their batsmen are on high after Rawalpindi, so they are definitely favourites. Plus, there is the combination of reverse swing and spin, which both Pakistan dominate. They will not have it easy against the spinners here, especially if Norman Ali plays, because Norman Ali, even on that flat deck, took 6 wickets.
Oh, look, it almost, I mean, India, Sri Lanka is very clearly an Indian victory because the way that they've gone about the first match with an innings defeat of, let's have a look here. We're looking at some, I think there's I was just seeing whether they've picked any sides. No, they haven't. Well, obviously the Australian side is clear. The Pakistan side, I think they're going to bring back the 2 bowlers that were left out the first match. That's what the word is. I mean, if I look at the report on commentary, they gave a breakdown of the players of who would be more than likely. I'm disappointed with Harris Ralph, because I would have loved to have seen him.
Yeah, I think
get a Guernsey. He missed out his opportunity first test. He was in the side effectively. Naseem, you would argue, probably doesn't deserve to be left out of the side, but he probably will. Hassan Ali's going to go straight back in. What do you think of Hassan Ali? What's your thoughts on him?
Well, Hassan Ali, look, he was a brilliant bowler at the start of his career. I mean, he had pace. He used to reverse swing. A typical Pakistani bowler. I mean, you could hit the deck hard with him. But I think ever since that celebration injury that he had against Zimbabwe when he sprained his neck, I think his confidence is nosedived. And successive bashings against India in the World T20s and in the World Cup of 2019 did not help him at all. I mean, he was taken to the cleaners by Rohit Sharma and KL Rahul in Old Trafford in the 2019 World Cup. So since then, his confidence has kind of nosedived. You would know, Norman, 2021, the World T20 final, semi-final. Hassan Ali's drop plus his inability to control the runs just could not. It didn't do his confidence that much of good. So yes, tough times for Hassan Ali, but he will bounce back. He's a good bowler. He's got his.
Okay, we've got some news.
Yeah.
Australia won the toss and will bat first.
Oh,
so that's a huge. You would argue a huge bonus for Australia, because they didn't get that opportunity in the first test, and Pakistan went ahead. That's a significant improvement for them in terms of the way they will go about this match. It's given them an opportunity, I think, to allow that they could. Well, they can dictate perhaps better. They kept on talking about getting they were able to get the control of the tone of the game, the mood of the game in the first test, which I don't believe they did at all. Then now they have an opportunity, because if Australia can score and score big, then we've got something cooking here for putting pressure back on Pakistan, which is the interesting thing. This could be somewhat of a good moment for them.
But again, winning the toss does not guarantee that you win the match, Norman. I mean, in Australia, they won all the 4 tosses in India in 2013, if you have to look at it. Yet they got whitewashed 4-0. They batted first on 3 out of the 4 tests, except Mohali. So you have to ensure that Australia scores in the range of 450 to 500. Without that, you will not get the advantage in the Asian subcontinent. You have to bat first, but you have to bat big. 500 is your par score, if you look at it, to create pressure on the opposition. 450 is okay, but 500 has to be scored. 450, 500. If you score anywhere in the range of 350 to 450, then it can be anybody's game. Then you lose the advantage.
Now, do you think the toss here is significant to have actually somewhat, what's the word for it, help determine the way this test will go? Do you think this toss has now given Australia an advantage?
It will give them an advantage if they post a big score, if all the batsmen can score big. Only then. Otherwise, if suppose Australia gets sold out for 250, the advantage is gone. because you played either rash shots or you played bad misjudgment. You've had multiple cases of bad misjudgment. Because Australia you will have to remember, they can't be aggressive against the spinners right from the outset, because in Rawalpindi it was doing nothing, but in Karachi it will do a lot more. Australia have collapsed in instances. For example, they were 180 for no loss, but they have been all out for 300. It has happened. So you'll have to maintain and sustain the advantage that you get. This toss, you will not win it every day in the subcontinent. You have to ensure that the batsmen contribute well. You get to 450, 500. That is a given. You have to go get it in that range.
It's interesting. How much do you think now that, because the first test they were an hour apart, which allowed people had to make a decision who they watched. Australia versus Pakistan, India versus Sri Lanka. Obviously, Indians would watch India versus Sri Lanka, and Pakistan would watch Australia versus Pakistan. But now that the match is later on, how much? I mean, cricket lovers are cricket lovers, aren't they? Let's be honest. They'll watch anything that's related to cricket.
Yes.
And then this is a pretty important series, because effectively we've got a situation here where these two teams are 1 and 2 at the moment in the WTC, aren't they?
Yep.
Australia's one and Pakistan 2.
This match,
especially
in Karachi, the Karachi match is going to be very important in the WTC perspective, if you have to look at it, because Pakistan need this win more than Australia. Australia cannot afford to lose the series. If they lose the series, they go straight down, because India will now jump up after the Sri Lanka series. Australia will play a 4-test series against India in India. So if they can do well in Pakistan, it will give them a good advantage heading into the India series, which is, I think, somewhere around September, October, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know when is that series. I think it's at that time.
The Pakistan side has been announced by Razam has said Fahim and Hassan Ali are into place. Iftikhar Ahmed and Naseem Shah. Definitely a typical Karachi pitch. Later on, it will help the spinners. So Shafiq's opening with Imam Haq, with Azhar Ali, Azam, Fawad Alam, Mohammad Rizwan. So that hasn't changed. For him, Ashraf, who is the bowler that's come in, who bats the number 7, Norman Ali, Sajid Khan, Hassan Ali, and Shaheen Afridi. That does look a bit like that. Looks
super bowling.
It looks like a good side, doesn't it?
Yep, that's a very good bowling lineup.
And of course, they were both meant to be picked in the first match. So it's doing the right thing and allowing them to come back into the side effectively.
Yep. So
this was always going to be their team that would play today. So, boy, oh boy.
But
very interesting.
Australia team.
The Australians. I mean, I really liked the way KARACHI batted in the first innings. It was in the test match. It was brilliant. It was a really good performance.
Yep.
So Don 007 and Curtis Patterson left. I think they were mentioned about him playing for Australia. Yes, I agree. And I was going a bit heavy on Travis. Said, well, I'm not, because the man has been dropped, and I thought he was dropped for good last time. He forced his way back in, scored a century, and then followed it by a century in the Ashes. But he shouldn't rest on his laurels. He has to continue to perform. His bowling is atrocious. In the first test, it was completely ineffective. So I don't think he's going to be even thought in that way. So Curtis Patterson is someone who scored a century, for God's sake, on his last test match, as far as I'm aware. I don't quite know what's happened to him. He'll come back, and I'm sure we'll see more of him. So that's for sure. Now, we've got some 21 minutes before the match starts. So it looks so. Bubba has not said a lot, but he did say it's going to help the spinners. Huge pressure on Swepson. Huge pressure on the Australian batters. And on, obviously, Alex Carey and Travis Head, the ones I mentioned. Someone else needs to score a big 100 for Australia. Paul Newman's right. That is exactly right. And it's going to have to, and I've got an inkling it's going to be Khawaja. And I even think it's Steve Smith's reckoning. Warner and Labuschagne obviously did quite well in the first test, but they're all not going to fire. At least that's my thoughts. Hassan Ali's a pretty good bowler. I think that, I got a feeling Australia won't get the 500 they're supposed to get, because it's just, even though there should be no pressure, there is lots of pressure.
Yep. That's the thing. So yeah, look, Australia won the toss. Great. Now it's up to the batters to capitalize. It's really up to them to capitalize because Warner, Labuschagne, Khwaja all missed out on ton, which was there for the taking. So they will be aware of that, and then they will go for it. They have to go for it because now, if you win this test, you don't lose the series. It's simple. So Australia will go a long way in ensuring that. Now they have to win this and ensure that okay, we carry that form in the Asian series when they play India next. India will be a different kettle of fish altogether.
I'm just curious when they will bowl Swepson is my question. When will they bowl Swepson is the question I've got. To me, that's the intriguing part of this. I'm just looking at the. I love receiving the team sheets. I love the old team sheets because in the press, as you know, you get them. I love. Yep. I adore them. It sort of gives us this real feel about things. It's like you really get this piece of paper in your hand, and the player hands over the team when they get on the field. I love all that. I love all that there. That's the way cricket should be. You shouldn't get rid of those sort of things. I'm glad they're not producing like screenshots or something. They're giving the real piece of paper where they're truly signing it. So it's quite kind of amusing. Foxtel seems to have gone on the blink here. Foxtel's meant to be showing the game, and they're saying Foxtel will be right back, which is quite funny.
Oh boy, yeah. So yeah, it'll be a good viewing experience. I mean, Karachi after how many 24 years Australia playing there, it's going to be a great occasion. I think fans are allowed. Fans are allowed, I think, in Karachi to see the match.
Have you done tours to Pakistan?
No. I hope to do it in 2025 when they play the Champions Trophy. I hope that it happens, but not had the chance. In the last 2-3 years, I've not had the chance to tour. So
now, let me get this clear. Let me get this clear. Are you saying it's not happened, but would you have a burning desire to have it happen?
Of course. I would love to visit Pakistan although technically I've been there only once. I mean, I just crossed over the border in Wagah, which is in the Punjab side of India. And I just crossed over and I went to Lahore for 2 minutes and I was back. That's the only time I was in Pakistan. Otherwise, I've not been there. Although to cover a cricket match, I would love to be in Pakistan.
In terms of history of cricket, Karachi is a national stadium, Karachi, and obviously Gaddafi Stadium are two of the most historical, aren't they, in terms of test grounds?
Yep, they are.
Is there a third? I'm just trying to think of the third. They're the main two that I can think of that have.
They are the main two. The other stadiums have hosted matches, but not that much. Rawalpindi, for example, has not hosted that. Although they have for the past 30 years, Rawalpindi has hosted games. Multan Stadium has hosted matches, but not to that level. Peshawar Arbab Nia Stadium has not hosted that many games. Then Sindh, Hyderabad matches have not happened much. Neither have they happened much in, you may say, in Balochistan. They haven't happened there as well. Not many matches there. So, yeah, Karachi, Lahore. That is the only two historic matches because in the 50s and the 60s, they were playing Dhaka, East Pakistan.
Oh, yeah.
That's
right. I've been to Sri Bangla Stadium in Bangladesh. That's quite a theatre. I just love the way that there are functioning shops going on around the stadium as if there's a bazaar going on. That's quite unusual, isn't it? I don't think that happens too often.
Yeah.
But Chinnaswamy is one of my favourites too. I rather like Chinnaswamy. It's got a lot of character.
Yeah. There's also Faisalabad. I forgot Faisalabad. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Faisalabad. Yeah. So do you if Faith Furies just mentioned one?
Yeah.
So tell me, are you with COVID? You're traveling freely around.
Now we can travel freely. I mean, there's not been much of cases there. Not many cases have happened there. The daily caseload in India is close to 3,000 every day. So it's not that much. Restrictions are being eased off. So you can travel around, but yeah, we are expecting a fourth wave in June. That's the period that they're saying. Or maybe around April at that period. Because when the weather changes, everybody falls ill.
Well, it's bright sunshine here in Sydney at the moment, and nobody wears masks anywhere. No one's doing a medicine. So there's John 007 has been mentioning about Will Pekuski is really unlucky, according to me. Poor man is getting concussion again and again.
Wow.
Look, there's something about that though. If you're getting hit so often in the head when you're batting, I'm sorry, there's a technique issue that has to be addressed. And I'm not saying I'm a great batsman, but when I was young, I never got hit in the head because I got out of the way of it. And
Yeah.
I'm just a little bit perturbed by this whole thing. How can someone get hit so often? Is he using his helmet as a bat? I'm joking, but it's a rather incredible scenario that I'm hearing here. Anyway,
Yeah,
Sid, my dear,
indeed.
we will get you the visa. Okay, there.
Oh,
All right.
hope so. I mean, one of my aims
it'll
is
be. I mean, they're just, to me, and I'm still got this ambition to go there for the third test. I'm just trying to work out a way to get my mother taken care of. And if I can, I'm on the next plane to Pakistan for only the test, but that's it. I'm going to come straight back. And I have a desire to go there. I have a desire to go to India, of course, as well. I just haven't got the ability to move around at the moment because of my mother, so I'm a bit stifled, but we'll see what I can do. I love Australia from Pakistan. Mushal speaks. Thank you. I'll tell you what, the welcoming of Test cricket and the enjoyment of having the Australian team has been amazing. The security's been amazing. The food, Manus Labuschagne put some food on the table and said he really liked the look of it. I'm a fan of subcontinent food, but that didn't look that exciting. Maybe Manus Labuschagne's knowledge of subcontinent food is not as
well.
high. Anyway, I'm at least
glad. I'm at least glad that Test cricket is back in Pakistan. They really needed it after 7 years of pain. I mean, I'm glad that Pakistan is finally hosting matches. I mean, in the 90s, there was no better sight than seeing those old PCB, Pakistan cricket, PTV rather, Pakistan TV's grainy footage of all the greats performing. Wasim reverse
in India women, did you see the score? Did you see the score? My God, they've done well. They've scored 8 for 317 after their 50 overs against the West Indies team that's pretty red hot.
Yeah, that's won 2 out of the 2 games.
Harmanpreet Kaur also scored a century.
And Smriti Mandana, yes.
They both did, yeah. I mean, the rest of the team didn't score many runs, to be honest, but that's pretty impressive. It's pretty impressive.
Your top 4 are really going to be, it's going to be a very, very close fight in the Women's World Cup. Very close fight because England are losing, but they have to bounce back. West Indies losing will throw the whole group wide open. South Africa are winning. New Zealand are winning. Australia are winning. So who are your top 4 going to be? It's going to be a very, very close fight because now don't forget, after 12th, India have got 2 massive games against England on 16th and Australia on the 19th. If they lose both of that, the advantage will. If England loses their next game against India, they've had it. I don't see how they will bounce back from that.
Okay. Paul Newman was saying, "What's my big prediction today, Norman?" Let's hear it. I was very damning about the Australian side. I think they only scored 2-8. They scored more than that, but they still didn't play that well. Look, the people are predicting 500. I think they'll get a very similar scoreline that they got in the first test. In other words, they'll do okay, but they won't be that dominant. I think they should go for close to 400. I think they should get 400. If they don't, there's something seriously wrong. It's a matter of how well they bowl as a backup to that. But in my opinion, I'm going to give Australia a bit more chance to score 400. They scored 450 on the first test, yes. And in terms of scores, I predict Khawaja to get a century. And I've got a feeling Steve Smith will get his chance. Labuschagne and Warner will contribute, but the main two will be Khawaja and Smith. They'll get 400. But when Pakistan bat, I'm expecting them to get a lot of runs too. They won't be perturbed by this. Just a matter of how fast Australia get the runs, and I think you'll see Pakistan bat with a lot more aggression in their next match, and they will absolutely take to Swepson. They're gonna give, if they're smart, they will absolutely tear him apart. That's not unlike what Shastri did to Shane Warne. He got 150. He was smacked all over the place as well. So yeah, I mean, can you imagine, Siddharth, the excitement of walking out in your first Test match? As a batsman, it's a bit different, but as a leg spinner, my God, we're expecting you to perform miracles.
Yeah, because I think you've not had that much of a excitement for a spin bowler ever since Nathan Lyon. I mean, when he came out, he got a wicket first ball, Kumar Sangakkara at Gaul. So I don't know how Swepson will shape up. I hope he shapes up well. But again, you need a combined effort. I mean, Australia has now gone beyond that period where only one man or two people can influence the game. You need everybody to contribute. Bowlers have to contribute. The bowlers for this match, Stark, Cummins, Swepson, Green, Lyon, all have to chip in.
And Cameron Green. Cameron Green has to bowl 20 plus overs. He needs to bowl a hell of a lot more. And they should not be using, in my opinion, Travis Head, Labuschagne and Smith at all, unless they're getting really desperate. They should stick to Lyon, Swepson, hopefully Stark with Cummins and Green. And those five should be the ones that really pile the overs up.
I'm surprised why they're not
really
bowling Green 15 to 20 overs. I'm surprised why they're not doing that. Maybe it's an injury thing that they're worried about for Green. Could be an injury thing. If he breaks down, then maybe a whole composition goes for a toss then, perhaps.
Okay, in terms of the World Test Championships, in terms of, quick question here. Mujal said that it's the advantage of the spinners. It certainly is. And Australia should have played three spinners, in my opinion. Anyway, yes. With the World Test Championship, now India beat Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka have dropped well down. India will go, I guess, up. Where will it sit? Let's just say Pakistan win this series here. Pakistan will go 1. Could India go 2?
Yeah, maybe. But then for that to happen, West Indies need to lose to England.
Right.
Because I'll just open the points table. Points table for ICC World WTC. Okay, so now the thing is, Australia are on top now, currently.
Correct. Because of Sri Lanka's demise against India in the first match, they've fallen away. So Australia's got the first.
India win, they will jump to second. Because they'll get 12 points, the PCT will increase, the percentage points. So that will increase. Pakistan, if they win, then if Pakistan wins the series, then it'll be 1-2. Because imagine, Pakistan will have a total of 64 points. And India will have 77. Australia will be third, 56.
See, this is a test match where I would dearly have liked to have seen Glenn Maxwell play.
Yeah, but Maxwell can't.
Because he can bowl quite well. He can bowl very well and is far better than Labuschagne, Smith, Head, any of those bowlers. He'd be on par with Agar, and we know what he can do with his batting, and he loves these type of pitches to bat on. He would have been a key player. Even though Cameron Green got 48 and bowled quite tidily, between Cameron Green and Glenn Maxwell, I would say Maxwell any day.
Indeed.
On these type of pitches.
Indeed. Plus, I think Maxwell is a very aggressive batsman. You will need Maxwell, the batsman, more, but I guess in that sense.
They're talking about other questions on the board there about have Sri Lanka got a chance? I'm saying no. So is Siddharth. Aaron Finch has got a job with the KKR now that Alex Hale's out. I'm very happy. I like Finch to be a part of it because he's a captain of Australia, for God's sake, won the World Cup. And how can the captain of a World Cup winning T20 side not get a Guernsey in the IPL? There's something not right there.
9th team for the IF, 9th IPL team for Aaron Finch. He just hasn't played for Chennai Super Kings and Lucknow Super Giants. That's it. It's incredible.
There's every chance that Australia could play India in a World Test Championship final. That would be very exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it could happen. But I think
But where would
the
it be played?
only. Huh?
It have to be played in New
Where?
Zealand.
No, they can't play it in New Zealand. Definitely not.
I thought the winner of the World Test Championship takes on the mantle, the final, hosting the final. No?
No, 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 no. That will not happen because you'll have to understand that the timings will just not suit you. They just won't. That's the problem. But the one dark horse that might screw every team's chances is potentially South Africa. South Africa cannot be underestimated because of this current team. They managed to beat India. They held on to a draw in New Zealand when we are expecting New Zealand to win 2-0. Now they will play Bangladesh. Their one series is against Australia. They can very well break the jinx and reach the final if they maintain the form that they are in currently. Plus, they're going to England. Maybe the England series might be a bit difficult for them, but perhaps South Africa could be the dark horse for this cycle.
Yeah, I get you. I can see with their weight they beat India and they did well against New Zealand in the second test there. But I'm not convinced of their side. I don't know why. I'm just not convinced of their side. I don't know why India didn't win that series in South Africa. I'm still gobsmacked there.
Yeah.
They
I
really
guess it
had
was the Elgar factor. The Elgar factor. I mean, Elgar is a very, very determined guy. And he's pretty solid as well. You need calmness in a. He's a very calm guy, Dean Elgar. If you give a fight to him, he'll fight back. But he will not be aggressive and in your mouth. In your face, rather. He'll just buckle down and then say, okay, I will go for it now. And he did it. Johannesburg, South Africa had no business winning that, but they did. Elgar was the key in that.
But Sid, be honest, South Africa haven't made the final of any ICC tournament ever.
But it might change.
They're chokers in a lot of the formats. I don't think that. I mean, I get your point on the dark horse. Might be a way of describing it, but no, it'll be Australia, India, and Pakistan. If Pakistan continue this form, and I'm hoping that because they're playing England at home, and they're playing Pakistan, playing England and New Zealand at home, aren't they?
England and New Zealand at home.
Well, if they can knock England and New Zealand off at home, then there's going to be some
fireworks. Knock England out. I mean, England have not really made themselves favorites by poor performances in the subcontinent, apart from Sri Lanka. But Sri Lanka, again, is a different cup of tea altogether. And England are playing New Zealand, by the way, at home. This will be part of the World Test Championship. So England series now, Ashes is done. They'll play one against India now. That cycle anyway is done. So South Africa, West Indies, and New Zealand. These are your remaining three.
They're showing the ground. God, it looks like a real hotchy-potch ground with those massive white bare patches on the middle there.
Yeah.
It reminds me of very much like Wankhede in some ways, like some of the Sri Lankan home grounds, like Sinhalese Sports Club. It's got that old feel about it. I love it. I love stadiums like this. I love like this old feel.
It's like a cauldron.
We wouldn't have this in Australia. We would have brand new stands every 6 months, and also I love these characters. So Usman Khawaja had the honour of giving Mitchell Swepson his cap. He's 464th player to represent Australia.
Yeah, and this is Rohit's 400th international match.
464.
Yeah. Plus, it's Rohit's 400th international. That's the only thing to look forward to. But India are just bossing Sri Lanka. I don't see Sri Lanka unless India suffer an epic choke of epic proportions.
Oh, look at the venue. It looks kind of like a Braeborn.
No, well, why not an India-Pakistan World Test Championship final? Why not?
Sorry?
India-Pakistan final.
Wow. I would love it. I would love it.
Very much possible.
Come on, for God's sake.
Very much possible.
I want to go to an India-Pakistan Test match again. As I think I told you, I went to the last one in Chinnaswamy Stadium back in 07-08. And Shoaib Akhtar bowled that.
Oh, yes.
Oh, full stadium.
Ganguly 239.
Look at Khawaja's record. He scored 10 centuries, 15 50s, scored 3-2-3-9, average 43. He should be in the Test side, for God's sake, permanently.
Yeah.
This ground, I love it. I reckon we're going to. This ground and Lahore excite me.
Yeah.
Rawalpindi
And
was
the
a bit.
production qualities of the Pakistan team, I mean, of the Pakistan side recently, the production quality is increased immensely and it's making for great viewing. I watched the Rawalpindi test. It was pretty good, the production quality and the camera angles and the way how they're going over it was superb.
So Shaheen Afridi's coming in the first over here. He's only 21 years of age. Wow, what a future he's going to have.
Yeah, one of the
and I'm
best.
just commenting, people are saying, don't be hard on South Africa. I'm not being hard. I'm just telling you the truth. You can't be hard on a team that hasn't made a World Test Championship final. And they've got this monkey on the back there. Yeah, anyway, here we're watching, if you don't mind watching, we're watching Shaheen bowl the first ball. Beautiful first ball right at the toes of Warner. I love this ground. It looks like it's been poorly made. It's got patches everywhere. They practice out the middle there. I love it.
Indeed, indeed.
It looks like a road to me, but they reckon it's gonna break up.
I know. Well, Norman, I have to leave back to work on a Saturday morning.
Okay. So what are you
people
doing
have
now?
been going hard at me saying that I don't follow Australian cricket.
Sorry?
I mean, people have gone hard at me too, saying that I don't follow Australian cricket because I have been criticizing the Aussies. No, I haven't been criticizing the Australian team. I'm just looking at their past record in the subcontinent. I'm just saying that you need to capitalize on the advantage that you had on the toss. So you have to score 450 so that you can give your bowlers the buffer to do it. And Pakistan at home, when was the last time they lost a series at home?
I got one eye on the delivery. Warner was beaten beautifully. Have you got visual?
I haven't switched on. I have to see them. I have to do that.
So I might come on later for the India Sri Lanka preview as well. If you want to come on, I might have that in a couple hours' time. How about that?
Yeah.
All right. So,
but my preview is
if you're
India dominating. India dominating 3-day test.
Enjoy having you on. So it's always good to have you on. This is a great series, and we just love cricket too much, don't we?
And one more anecdote, Norman. This series is a chance for Manas Labuschagne to show that he's not a home track bully. All his 600s have been scored in Australia. None have been scored outside. Labuschagne has to break that in this series. If you don't, then okay, you may have. He's a home track bully. That's it.
We'll see. To be ranked number 1 in the world, he'll do more than what he's done so far. You're right.
He has to. Yes. Okay, Norman.
I'll take your leave. There's 10 cricket pitches all ready to go.
Yeah. I'll take your leave, Norman.
All right.
Okay. Take care.
You take care, Sid. Thanks for coming on.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Wasn't it great to have Sid out here? He's so balanced with his approach to both anyone on the subcontinent. He's a great. Actually, has a chance of creating a world record, as far as I know, fastest in 50 wickets. Well, there you go. If he'll get a Guernsey today, won't he? Warner's just hit the ball off the edge and it's racing away to the boundary there. It won't be 4. Sajid Khan's stopped it. Therefore, looks like it'll be 2 or 3. It looks like 2. All right, guys. We can continue on from there. India is better in cricket than Australia, Norman. I think you're right. Australia's going to be showing up this test match. I think this is the match that Pakistan will win, even though Australia's got a massive advantage by batting first. That's for sure. So certainly a massive advantage. So he's hit 2 off the 5th ball. Good bowling. Good over from Shaheen indeed. Very good over indeed. It's great bowling. All right, guys. I'm going to come back a bit later to cover the preview of the India versus Sri Lanka match. We'll see how time goes. Being a day-nighter, please enjoy the test match now between Australia and Pakistan. Australia have won the toss and elected to bat. They've included Mitchell Swepson for Hazelwood, and Fahim Ashraf is in with Hassan Ali for Nazim. And I'm thinking of the other bowlers who also dropped from the side there. It was also Iftikhar as well was also dropped. So, yes, Fahim Ashraf and Hassan Ali, Iftikhar, and also the bowler which was there, Nazim, who bowled pretty well in the first match. See you later, Paul. Kuldeep has been dropped straight, exiled in. Well, Kuldeep's been in and out of poor form for a long time, I'm afraid. Anyway, so last question, colleague. Yeah, we've got already dinner time for me. Well, it's a bit early for dinner. What time is it? What time is it? What time is it now? 4 o'clock. That's an early dinner. See you later, Don 007. See you all, guys. We'll see each other very soon again. Stay tuned and be able to watch Eyes on Cricket with Norman Cossing. If you like and share the post, subscribe, hit the notification button. There's one video that I've put up which got 990,000 subscribers. Let's get that to 1 million. With your help, we can do those sort of things. World Test Champions coming in the future. Australia, India, Pakistan, all the reckoning. Let's see how we go. Hassan Ali's bowling his first over now. India is #1 Test cricket. I agree. Totally agree. All right, guys. See you later. Bye.